Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be talking about Agile. All you need to know about the basics of Agile for the PMP exam. This is what we are going to discuss over here right now. So let's just get started. So, Agile. If you simply Google this word Agile, it actually means easy to move, or you can say move quickly, right? In the context of project management, we call it how to do the things in an easy way and how to do the things in a quick way. That is all about the word Agile. Now, there's a separate lecture of how the word actually came into existence. But for the PMP exam, you must understand this particular aspect, that there were some people somewhere in 2001 where they sit together and they signed the Agile Manifesto. This Agile Manifesto states that if you are working in an agile environment, or if you want to adapt an agile environment, you must uphold 4 values and 12 principles. So there is another video that I have made about 4 values and 12 principles. You can check on that, which is not the part of this particular video. So in simple words, if you are running an agile environment, you must uphold these 4 values and 12 principles. Now, talking about the basics of agile over here, the very first thing that you need to know, that agile projects are divided into sprints. Agile projects are divided into sprints. What are sprints? Sprint is an iteration, a cycle of work, or if I go with the literal definition of this word sprint, means literal, like running quickly, sprinting from one place to another, running quickly, sprint. Or theoretical way, you may say it or define it as it's a time bound iteration of work, time bound cycle of work. So when the word time bound comes, it means that it will have a start and it will have an end. Time bound, start and end. Now, how to visualize this thing? Very simple. You, in your daily project life, in your work environment, you have a weekly meeting, let us say fortnightly meeting after 15 days. What happened in that meeting? What do? You plan what are you going to do the next 15 days, but at the same time you first review what you have done in the previous 15 days, and then you analyze your performance and plan your next 15 days. See, that's a normal thing. So what is a sprint? that 15 days is a sprint. So instead of saying that we are planning our next 15 days, we say in an agile environment that we are planning our next sprint. We will say we are planning our next iteration. The word sprint and iteration goes hand in hand, right? They are the same. Clear, right? So now agile projects are divided into sprints. Just for an example, if I say that my project is, let us say, I say that here is 200 days long. I require 200 days of project. Now my sprint duration, if I say, is 20 days, how many sprints I want? Simple math. 200 days divided by 20 days a sprint. It means I need 10 sprints of 20 days each. That's how you understand the word sprint. Now, what's next? As I said, you have a sprint, and before the sprint you have a meeting, and after the sprint you have another meeting. So there is a meeting, sprint, and a meeting. Since we are at the beginning of the sprint, the first meeting we call it a planning meeting. Since we are planning the sprint, it's called the sprint planning meeting. Or if you are using the word iteration, it is the iteration planning meeting. The idea of this meeting is to plan what you are going to do in the next sprint. Simple as that. And then there is a review meeting. The review meeting is the meeting where you review your previous and then you plan your next. So if you are talking about the sprint, it is known as the sprint review meeting. If you are talking about iteration, which is the same, you call it iteration review meeting. Now, this iteration review meeting or sprint review meeting has two parts. One is known as the demonstration meeting or the demo, where you demonstrate your product of what you have achieved and you move on to the next sprint. So the discussion of the product takes place over here. And then the second meeting is known as the retrospective meeting. Retrospective is a meeting where you retrospect, where you self-reflect on the past, what you have done well, what you could have done better, so that you learn the lessons. It's a lessons learned meeting, so that you don't repeat the same mistakes again. So one is a demonstration meeting, other is a retrospective meeting that you need to know for the review of the sprint. Now what happens in here on the sprint? Your sprint is of 7 days maybe, 15 days maybe, 30 days maybe. Ideally, the duration of the sprint should be between 2 to 4 weeks, where 2 weeks is considered as the ideal time. It's not too short, not too long. 4 weeks is a little longer time. So on daily basis, you need to have a daily stand-up meeting. Since the word stand-up is there, it means that this is a meeting where everyone is standing up. Of course, if I go literal over here, everyone is standing up, which is giving us a hint that it should be a quick meeting. A quick meeting means Maximum 15 minutes, not more than 15 minutes. This meeting is not used to solve issues. It might be used to highlight issue, to raise issue. It is a quick progress update meeting where the leader of that meeting will be asking three questions from all the participants of the meeting, the team members basically. What are those three questions? Very simple. What you have done yesterday, what are you going to do today, and is there any problem that you are facing? Just to highlight and raise the issue. That's a daily stand-up meeting. So keep that in mind. A very important meeting for the exam point of view. Now, how many meetings I have gone through over here? There is a sprint planning meeting in which you plan what are the things you are going to do in the sprint. Then there is a daily stand-up meeting where you have a quick progress update meeting, that what have you done yesterday, what are you going to do today, and is there any problem, just for 15 minutes. And then there is a demonstration meeting where you demonstrate what you have done in the sprint, you demonstrate your feature, you give a demo, and then there is a retrospective meeting where you retrospect on the past, where you self-reflect on the past. So understand, whenever it comes to the Agile, you must know the concept, the reason behind these all 4 meetings I have highlighted. Next concept in Agile is that you must know the roles in Agile. The roles in Agile, there are 3 roles in Agile. Number 1, we have a product owner. Then we have a scrum master. And then we have a development team. Right? Product owner, scrum master, and the development team. The development team is a technical team. This is a cross-functional technical experts. These are the people who will do the work. They are self-organized team. What's a self-organized team? A team that is organizing the work themselves. Self-directed team. They direct the work themselves. They are technical experts, the development team. Then we have a scrum master. A scrum master is a team lead, is a leader, is a facilitator, is an agile project manager. Since he's the master of the scrum is a group of people actually, so it will make sure everybody is following the processes of scrum, the guidelines of the scrum, the guidelines of agile. Everybody is following that process. It means the scrum master is responsible for maintaining this cycle. What is this cycle? There is a planning meeting that should take place. There is a stand-up meeting that should take place on daily basis with this specific agenda like that. There is a demonstration meeting and there is a retrospective meeting. Scrum Master will make sure the practices of Agile are being followed. And then there is a product owner. A product owner is a visionary person, coming up with the vision of the product. Product owner is not the owner of the product, that the customer. Don't consider it as a customer. It might be a voice of customer. Yeah, a product owner might be a business person who knows what the customer needs. I used to give one example when it comes to the product owner, very straightforward. Whenever the word product owner comes, consider Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was a product owner when Apple first actually started up. He exactly knew what the customer wants. So a product owner is a visionary person, comes up with the vision, is a customer's representative. A product owner gathers customer requirement, and product owner owns the product backlog. Right? So now we have gone through three distinctive roles: the product owner, the scrum master, and the development team. Then I will start with the next word over here, which is the word that I have already written, the word product backlog. What is a product backlog? A product backlog is a document, of course. This document contains product requirements. Remember guys, the product owner owns the product backlog. I have written above, right? What does it mean? It means what goes into the backlog, what comes out from the product backlog should be done by the product owner. The product owner is prioritizing the product backlog. Yes. So if I write here product backlog, it is owned by the product owner, prioritized by the product owner, and updated by the product owner. Means what goes in, what comes out should be done by the product owner. So what it contains? I have written one word over here, which is requirements. So it will contain requirements. Now, if you know the basic concepts of project management, the word requirement means a condition or a capability that the product should be having. Anyways, I'm not going into that. Coming back, requirements. In Agile, requirements are written in the form of user stories. Requirements are written in the form of user stories. Now, what is a user story? A user story is a requirement, of course, written with the perspective of the user, that how the user explains it, how the user explains that particular requirement. There is a specific template for writing a user story, and that template is, for example, this is my requirement number 1. I, as a dash, wants this so that this. It means that I, as a type of user, wants this particular requirement or goal so that the reason is also mentioned over here. And imagine your product backlog contains all the user stories like this up to X amount, and every user story will have who is asking, what is the requirement, and what is the reason of doing it. So that when a product owner shows this requirement to the development team will start thinking creatively that how they are going to solve it, how they are going to execute it. Creative ideas will come from the team if they know the reason of doing that particular work. That's the idea of a user story. Now, every user story written in the product backlog should have If I write it over here, user story should have an acceptance criteria. That how this particular user story will be accepted by the customer, the acceptance criteria, and it should be agreed as early as possible on the project, so that when you start doing the work, your vision, your goal, and the team, that how it will be considered acceptable is clear first. So every user story will have an acceptance criteria. And how to do that? How to set up an acceptance criteria? Team will work together along with the product owner and the scrum master. All of the team members, including the product owner and the scrum master, will have a DOD. Now what's a DOD? DOD is basically a checklist. What is a checklist? Checklist is like you have these numbers with boxes and you tick mark so that you know if anything is missing or not. Checklist, this is the idea of the word checklist. So DOD is a checklist. What does it mean? It means the team will co-write this DOD with the product owner, and we will agree on some points that it should be tick mark so that your product is ready to deliver or hand over. That's the idea. A DOD is a checklist, is a tick mark, that if all the items on the DOD is tick mark, it means now the product is ready for the handover. The work is done. The work is complete. That's a DOD. Now, if imagine in a perfect scenario, your team member and your product owner agrees on the DOD, it means from day one, team knows the end point. Team knows the end goal. Team knows how it will be considered acceptable for the customer. That is the whole idea of agreeing on the DOD. Coming back over here, every user story must have to be prioritized. Must have to be prioritized means you will see based upon high value and high risk. Always try to prefer the high value work up front and always try to prefer the high risky things up front. That's one of the teachings of Agile. Do the risky things first so you know that you are failing. And if you are failing, you are learning. And if you are failing, you might change your path. So high value, high risk items should be prioritized to the top. There are other tools as well when we talk about the prioritization. One of them is the Moscow analysis that tells us M stands for must have requirements, S stands for should have requirements, C stands for could have requirements, and W stands for won't, means don't waste your energy on that. There are other prioritization techniques which will be covered in the subsequent Agile advanced topics. Another important point that your user story must be having is the idea of estimation. Every user story must be estimated. That how much estimation, how much effort is required to complete the work, right? For that, we have a system that every user story gets a story point. A point is a unitless measure that tells us the weight of the task. More the points, heavier the task, difficult the task. Less the point, it's easier the task, right? Difficult, I might not use the word difficult again, by the way. More points means more effort is required to do this, right? Consider like this, right? It is more amount of work is more, or it has more risk factors, it is more complex maybe. That's the idea of a point. So bigger the point, more effort is required. Consider like this. So every user story will get a story point. And here we use the concept of relative estimation in Agile. Relative estimation is a technique where you estimate the work based upon some relative, based upon some reference point. All our estimation is done based upon the reference point. So what we have here, that every user story will get an acceptance criteria, will be prioritized based upon high value and high risk, and will have a story point that will designate the weight of the task at hand. Okay. Now, if I just summarize of what we have discussed so far. We have discussed, that's your checklist by the way when it comes to the Agile beginners concept for the PMP. Agile beginners concept for the PMP. So you must know 4 values and 12 principles. Then we have Agile ceremonies. This Agile ceremonies is a planning meeting we have a daily stand-up, we have a demonstration or a demo, and we have a retrospective, a self-reflection on the past. Then we must know the Agile roles. Here we discuss a role which is the product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team. And then we have discussed the concept of the product backlog. Now, if you know these things, your basics are very much sorted out. Oh, one more thing. We also have a discussion about user stories, and these user stories are all about the acceptance criteria, the DoD. It is all about the user stories is all about prioritization of that based upon high value and high risk prioritization. And we also had a little idea of effort estimation that should be taking place when you are talking about the user stories. Now, if I zoom out over here, these are the major things that you need to know. You must know all of these things, and These are just the entry level or the basics things that you need to know for the Agile, right? So in my other video of Agile, you will find a little intermediate concepts about Agile, how to monitor the progress of the people in an Agile environment, how to use prioritization techniques in Agile, how to use estimation techniques in Agile, and how to handle changes in Agile, and how the workflow of Agile is created, right? So that you will see in another video. That's it for this particular video. If you like it, please subscribe to my channel and please like the video. Please comment if you have any question. I would love to answer your feedback, and I love to answer your questions, right? I hope it is clear. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.